PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome Rachel Simon. Rachel Simon is the founder and CEO of Connect the Dots Digital. She helps professionals create an authentic presence, add value, and build relationships on LinkedIn. She understands that many people on LinkedIn can often be overwhelmed and find the platform difficult. She strives to make it fun with teaching how to use it and its features to achieve real business goals. PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome one of our favorite LinkedIn experts, Rachel Simon.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me this morning. I think I was here a year-ish ago with our mutual friend, Kenneth Lang, which was great. And I actually had the opportunity to hang out with Ken in person when his family came down to Atlanta over the summer. So that was really special. So today we're going to talk all about LinkedIn. And I'm going to throw a lot of information at you. So please, yes, use the chat for your questions so that nothing gets missed. So before I start, there is one thing that I want to do. If you are at your computer, what I'd like everyone to do together. So I'm actually going to go to LinkedIn. What I'd like everyone to do is make a request of your data download, because we're going to talk about it in a little bit into the presentation, but it takes a few minutes for LinkedIn to process this. So if everyone can kind of follow along with me, and if you've done this before, then this will not be, it will be familiar. But basically, LinkedIn gives us an access to a lot of our information, a lot of our data, and one of those pieces that we can access is our connections, download our current LinkedIn connections. So like I said, we're going to talk about that more in depth a little bit later, but I want everybody to request the file. So if you go to your home page, you click on the little me arrow icon, and you're going to go to settings and privacy. That's going to take you to all the settings, and the settings in LinkedIn are incredibly comprehensive. I highly recommend you spend a little bit of time at some point reviewing your settings to make sure everything is the way you want it to. But for our purposes, we're going to go to data privacy, get a copy of your data, and then we're going to request connections. And then you click request archive. You probably have to put your password in, and it'll process, and we'll either come back to the screen or you'll get an email to whatever email address you have associated with LinkedIn with a link that you can click on. So all good, everybody? Any questions with that? Okay. So that's just kind of step one. So that'll be working while we're talking. All right, so we're going to talk about how to kickstart your LinkedIn strategy. And just a few things. I'm sure I do not need to sell y'all on why LinkedIn is amazing. But I love to share just a few quick facts from the get-go. So it is the #1 channel for B2B content. There's actually now the new user data came out this week that now we're up to 875 million users. But that data point that only about 2 to 3% are active is still the same. So still a huge population of people on the platform, and a tiny percent of them are showing up, sharing content, which means that your opportunity to get in front of people is really incredible on the platform as far as organic reach is concerned. And it's just a place where, again, B2B leads are generated, website traffic, all of these are all the good reasons why LinkedIn is well worth spending time and effort in. So for today, we are going to talk about 5 things to kickstart your LinkedIn strategy. So we're going to talk profile, network, content, engagement, and number 5 we'll talk about at the very end. So let's kick it off with LinkedIn profiles. So LinkedIn profiles are, they're a lot, let's be honest. Like, there's a lot that goes into a LinkedIn profile. It is not a plug and play kind of thing. I'm sure that all of you have spent time working on your profile. and you'll know it's never complete, right? There's always some new update. There's always something to change. I really like to kind of make everything related to LinkedIn as simple as possible so that it helps encourage you to spend, again, to invest your time and energy in the platform. So when it comes to LinkedIn profiles, yes, there are multiple components to one. There's so many little nuances. However, I think there's 5 key aspects that if you have these 5 pieces pretty well put together, you're going to be in a good position in relation to a lot of other users out there. So those would be your photos, and that's both your headshot and your banner image, your headline, your about section, your experience section, and your skills. If you can get those 5 pieces really, nailed down, you're in good shape. So let's talk about, I'm actually going to go to LinkedIn to talk through some of this stuff. So let me shift. Bear with me while I have to shift windows because it's a little clunky. All right. So let's talk about profiles, so photos. So number one, you want, I'm sure everyone knows this, you probably all have great pictures. You want a nice professional headshot. It really is the way to make that first impression with whomever you're looking to connect and engage with. One thing I'd like everyone to check, again, here's another little activity we can all do together. I want to make sure everyone's profile is set to be visible to the public. The reason why is that this happens every single time I do this presentation. There's at least 1 to 2 people that are like, realize their profile setting, their photo settings are incorrect. If your photo is set to be visible to your network, when you are active, if you're commenting, if you're sending connection requests, anybody outside of your first degree network cannot see your face. They just see that gray silhouette. So what I'd like y'all to do is click on your photo, and this little menu pops up, and if you click view or edit profile photo, this oval here should say anyone. These are the options. So as you can see, the options are first degree, your network, all LinkedIn members. You want it to be anyone. So I'm curious to know if anybody had their profile setting incorrect, set to something other than anyone. Anybody?
I did. Yeah, we do have somebody in the room.
Yeah, so I hope that you'll make that update. There are very, very few exceptions to that recommendation, but really when I have pointed that out to people in the past, they're shocked. They can't believe that they've been active on LinkedIn and have been basically invisible to people outside their network. Another good tip with your profile photo, again, it should be, kind of torso up, making eye contact. You want to be approachable. There's tons of tools out there where you can remove the background. You can add a fun color behind it, something like that. Just make it where you are really popping in the image. And these days, between smartphones and relatively inexpensive resources, it's pretty easy to get a good profile photo. We want to avoid cropping ourselves out of pictures. I had one client who would not listen to me about my recommendation to not have his dog in his photo with him. It's still there. We want to just make that great first impression, and the photos are the perfect way to do that. Is there a question? I see there's something in the chat.
Yeah, the person was asking, what's the difference between all LinkedIn members and also anyone? When you were showing that.
I think that's a good question. I'm honestly not 100% sure. That's why I just think anyone is the best way to go about it. Just show up. This is a professional networking tool, so you want to be visible to network with the people that you want to get in front of.
Would that apply also to if somebody was searching you, doing a Google search, that they would find the picture as opposed to if they were in LinkedIn trying to do the search?
Possibly, but maybe like if your picture comes up in a Google search. But yeah, your LinkedIn profile is going to be one of the first things that comes up when they're searching for you, regardless. But best practice is just keep it, have that broad availability for people to see your photo. So beyond your profile photo, this is the second piece that's super important to put into your profile, and that's your banner image. So I'm sure many of you have seen examples of where this is blank. And when it's gray, it's kind of like a billboard that says your ad here. It doesn't do anything for you. It makes your profile look incomplete, and you miss out on an opportunity to kind of, showcase a little bit about yourself. Now, again, I have my own business, so mine is obviously going to be showcasing my brand and sort of what I do professionally. If you are, if you're not sure what to put in this area, for some people, like I have one client, let me show you some examples of what you can put in this section. So here's one of my neighbor. So one of my neighbors here in Atlanta is in between jobs. She's an in-house counsel, and so she wasn't sure what to put here, and so we found a great photo of the downtown Atlanta to put in her profile in her banner image here. So you can do something like that. You can find a graphic that represents your industry. There's a lot of options here, but the best thing to do is have something there so that it isn't that gray, blah, sad background there. And there's a lot of resources you can find. Canva is a great tool to utilize in order to create a banner image, and they have lots of templates up there, so it's really easy to get something in that space. All right, just want to make sure there's no other questions. All right, so photos, super important. That's how we make a great first impression. The next piece, and this is probably, I'd say, I call it about equal importance with your photos, is your headline. So your headline is like your business card, right? This is what people are going to see when you are sending connection requests, you're commenting on posts, you're doing any activity whatsoever on LinkedIn. Your headline is that immediate value proposition of like, what do you do and why are you great at what you do? So you get 220 characters total for your headline. The first 50 are going to be the most important. The reason being that, I go to the home page real quick. That's what you can see when people are active on LinkedIn, right? So when this loads, you'll see for 1 second. To see like here, my connection, Deanna, you can see the very beginning of her headline, but there's a whole lot more that is continued, but we want to kind of front load it with the most important words first. I really would recommend, again, leading with what the value that you offer, the problem that you solve, versus company and title, particularly because a lot of companies' names also don't really convey what the company does. So a good rule of thumb with your headline is to kind of brainstorm the words and phrases that you would use when you describe yourself to somebody, and then use that to construct a headline. So again, I'm going to go back to Linda's here really quick. So Linda is, again, she's currently job searching here in Atlanta, and she's looking for another in-house counsel position. So when I helped her build out her headline, we really focused on the skills that she brings, right? Technology-focused in-house counsel with deep experience in legal operations, privacy, security. So that it's crystal clear to potential employers what she brings to the table and why she's good at it. Any headline questions?
Yeah, I have a question. The Open to Work banner, what's your opinion about that?
I'm not personally a big fan of it. I've heard kind of mixed things with the Open to Work banner. I do know that I believe if you keep your profile like wide open to recruiters, it is the default. So I think you'd ask 10 recruiters, you're going to get kind of a 50-50 split on the answer. Yeah, I know Ken Lang's in the room. I don't know if he has an opinion on that.
Is there anything wrong with having your,
You need to, I'm sorry.
My opinion changes like the wind. That's all I can really say. I think if you don't put other things on your profile that you're looking for work and being specific, you're not really going to set yourself apart. That's the latest, but of course that could change later on.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with that.
We have,
Go ahead. Does somebody have another question?
yes, is it?
yeah, we have a question in the audience. You have to turn the mic on.
John Sands, Woods, who has a number of these shows, and asks for and says the research it's set up.
Oop, I'm having a hard time hearing that.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, my question is, if you currently have on your LinkedIn profile in the banner area that you're talking about, an old job, is there anything incorrect with that? Or are you saying even when you do update it, should you just have what you have now? Like I see you have bullet points of, I guess, the industry you're trying to get into, or like the solutions you said.
Can someone repeat that for me? Because I heard most of it, but not all of it. I think you asked your headline has your old title.
Yeah, it has just the old job that I had.
Oh,
You're actually saying you have solutions for a particular job. I see that under or what you're offering in the industry. Are you saying that's what you should have as opposed to, your current job or an old job that you have up?
Yeah, I mean, I generally, my rule of thumb, regardless of your job situation, whether you're an employee or you're in job search mode, is that if you just default to your title and company, you're really missing the opportunity to utilize that space. So I always say that unless you're the CEO of Delta Airlines, you need to put a lot more in your headline than just your title and your company. So if you are sort of in between roles right now, I would personally focus more on the skills, the value proposition that you bring to the table versus what your former position was, because you just never know who's going to be interested and attracted to those various words and phrases. Plus, it's also searchable by LinkedIn, right? So if you have the right keywords, and I don't mean like you don't want to stuff your headline with keywords, but you want to have the right words in there so that when people are searching for certain things that you are found, if that makes sense. Okay, well, let's keep going because we got a lot more to get to. So headline, again, it's really worth spending some time and effort to really get it to a place where you feel like it adequately represents you. So your about section, this is where, and I want you to think about it as you can take your headline and almost like flesh it out into a narrative. So again, this is not taking the top of a resume and plopping it into this place. I see that all the time. I mean, so many people do that. I just had a call with somebody. I'm doing a renovation for them on their profile, and I was like, well, your about section is very resume-y. We want to avoid that. We want to do it more about a story. So again, I'm going to keep going back to Linda here. So Linda, kind of wrote a little bit of a story about herself. And she started off telling, how did she get into the law, right? A constitutional law class in college changed my life. And then from there kind of goes into her specific expertise and then a little bit about her personally. So there's lots of ways you can structure this, but I would really encourage you to think about what is it that's going to get somebody to want to read more and learn more about you. Right, so it's not, and I really want, and don't take this as a criticism of this is how yours starts, but so many people start their about section with, I have XYZ years of experience doing, whatever skill. Personally, I don't, does it matter if you have 10, 15, 20, or 25 years of experience? It's more of, do you have the skills to solve the problem that I have? So I'm more interested to know what it is that you are passionate about and that you have that you are the expert in versus how many years you've been doing it. So think about that hook, right? Just like you're writing a good paper, you're writing an article, every good article starts with a good first line. So that's how we want to approach our about section. Okay, so moving down from there, when your experience, again, is one of the other important components of your profile, you want to make sure that you're connected to, if there's a company page for your current and former employers, that you're connected to the company page, that you put a little descriptor about what that organization does, because not everybody knows what companies do. So, I mean, Cox Communication here in Atlanta is a really big company, so people probably are familiar with that, but there's a lot of companies out there where who knows what this company does. So if you can add a description of what the organization is, that's really helpful so people know what it is. And then focus on not all of the responsibilities that you had in that role, but more what were the outcomes and accomplishments that you achieved. So can you give some data points? And that's a good place to pull from your resume, to pull some of those outcomes and achievements. You can populate in, like if you manage large teams, I think it's always good to put information like that in there. But I've seen about experience sections where people literally lay out like everything that they ever did in their previous roles, and I just think it's a lot of information to sift through. So keep it short and snappy, but meaningful. The other piece, then this is new, I'm gonna sort of like roll into the last number 5 in my profile, like top 5, the skills. And this is the reason why the skills section to me is very important, is that LinkedIn rolled out this new feature where you can connect your skills into your experience. And I love that. This is a really cool new feature. It's probably about 3 to 4 months old. So if you are in your skills section, and you're probably familiar with this, right, where people can endorse you for different skills, now you can, and I'll show you on mine what it looks like, you can go back and then connect your skills to your current, to everything in your experience section. And what's nice about this, what I like about this is twofold. Number one, it's a good excuse to take a pass at your skills section to make sure, are these skills still relevant to what I'm currently doing? So this is very common, particularly if you started your career in one industry and maybe you shifted gears at some point. A lot of times people kind of forget about updating the skills section, so their skills are really not relevant to what they're currently doing. Also what I've seen very often these days is there's certain skills that were important to include, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel or PowerPoint. Those things now, it's kind of an assumption that we know how to use those tools, and so they're taking up important real estate for other skills that you could put in your profile. So if you're in your profile and you see the little pencil, that's how you can make any changes. So you would click into the pencil, and it'll take a second to load. You can click into every skill, and then this window will pop up, and you can say, where did you put this skill to work, to use, and just save it. And then the other piece is if you want to reorder the skills, you click on these 3 little dots, and you can change the order by just dragging them. So I would encourage you to, this is what I like to think of, look, it's like big sports season. If you're watching, the World Series this weekend, or whatever football team you support, do this while you're sitting on the couch, make some changes to your skills section. It's good Saturday or Sunday work, and it'll really make a nice difference in your profile. So any questions about, again, there's a lot more that goes into profile stuff, but those are the top 5, your photos, your headline, your about section. your experience and your skills. So any questions about this first part before we move on?
Yeah, there's one in the chat.
So that last piece again.
About skills?
Yeah, I didn't completely catch that, what you did.
Yeah, so if you go down to your skills section and just click on the pencil, and then you have to go to like each individual skill by skill, and click the pencil like that goes next to them, and then that's where you would see that window pop up.
Rachel, is there a characterization section?
Is there a what?
The limitation of so many changes to bring in?
I'm sorry, it keeps breaking up.
There a limitation, number of characters?
A number of characters for which section? Your skills? Or your about section?
Either.
Oh,
I guess I want to know the number of characters, and we're all experienced here. Be trying to use them.
I know that for your about section, I believe it's 2,600 characters. You have quite a lot of space. I don't know off the top of my head what the character limits are for like in your experience section, but I'm pretty sure I can find that somewhere, because I think that Andy Foote might have put together a character thing, but those change a lot. The two most important ones, it's 220 characters for your headline, and it's 2,600 for your about section.
Are you a fan of, if I want to be a project manager 3 times about?
I'm so sorry, John. It keeps breaking up, so I'm like hearing like every third word.
Yeah, John, maybe just type in the chat, because it's breaking up on our end as well too, so it's hard to get your question.
I do want to just point out a few quick newer. Some of these are not as new as they were when I put this together. One of the new features is there's a little bell you'll see underneath people's banner images. If you click that bell, you can get notifications about their content. So that's a nice thing. I find it to work so-so. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. You can also add a 30-second video that sits underneath your profile photo. This is a really great feature. You have to record it and upload it from your phone, from the mobile app. But what's nice about it is a great way to make it just a really quick little intro of who you are and what you do, and show your personality. You can also add your pronouns. That's newer, and then creator mode, which we're not going to get into because it's a whole thing, but it's another way to reorder, to kind of, you can enable it on your profile. It turns your connect button to a follow. You can add some hashtags about the things that you talk about. There's a lot more that goes into it. You get a few tools that you don't have access to otherwise, but you know, I'm happy to answer questions about that if we have time at the end. So let's talk. We're going to move on to, yes.
This is Bill from the back of the room. There was a question earlier about the open to work section.
Yeah.
This is how it reads. It says open to network versus open to work. And I really don't know what it means beyond that. I didn't want to let the question go by.
Yeah, I don't think there's an open to network banner. I believe there's a hiring one and open to work, so I'm not sure, but let's table that for now. We can talk about it if we have time at the end.
Okay, thanks.
All right, cool. So once you get your profile built out, you know, the next sort of piece of it, right? We want our profile to really adequately represent who we are and what we're all about, so that when we go to connect with people, it is crystal clear as far as why they would want to connect with us, right? So I like to think about building a strategic LinkedIn network, meaning, and there's so many philosophies on this. So I'm not saying anyone is right, wrong, or whatever. For me personally, I focus on quality versus quantity. I don't really care about the numbers. I care about the people, right? I'm here to build relationships. You know, and I'm going to use my friend Ken as an example. I mean, we met through LinkedIn and we are like legitimately friends. I mean, we did have the opportunity to meet in person this summer, which was awesome. But, you know, you can build real relationships on LinkedIn simply by just, you know, connecting with the right people and engaging with them. So I like to kind of think about network building as circles, expanding circles, right? The first internal circle there, the smallest one, are going to be your real world connections. So people you know in the real world, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your colleagues, people, you know, your clients, anybody who you know, who of course would connect with you because they know you, right? And then you can use that to build outward from there to really target the people who you want to be connecting with. So that might be target company, you know, specific people within target companies, or thought leaders in your industry who you want to connect and engage with. So thinking about how do you take your real world network and then build outward. And the search function on LinkedIn is really, really, really dynamic. It's awesome. You can get a lot out of it. You don't have to have Sales Navigator. You don't have to have a premium. You have them, great, use them, but they're not required. You can do a lot with the free version just by using the search feature, the search filters, and putting the right words and phrases in there. Best practices, please, please, please include a message when you send a connection request. It's very easy to find a little nugget. This is why I'm very passionate about building out your profile. If you have a well built out profile, it's easy for somebody to find something that they can include in a connection request. So, you know, maybe it's a company you used to work with, or a school that you went to, or a sports team that you're a fan of, or something where you volunteer, or a cause that you're passionate about. But build out your profile well so that it's easy for someone to find a little nugget that they can include in a connection request. Never ever pitch in the message. Nobody likes that. I'm sure you don't like it either. And you know, we definitely don't like tools that automate that for you. That's another topic. We talked about it last year. And then the last piece is what we ask for at the beginning, is to download and review your current connections a couple of times a year to find those hidden gems or gaps in your network. So, would you all like to take 5 minutes to take a peek at what that looks like? You should have that data request from LinkedIn based on what we had asked before. So if you go back to that page or check your email, remember it was under settings and privacy. Excuse me. And then, hold on, it'll load for a second. And I should have pulled an old one up, but I'll find one. If you go back to settings and privacy, data privacy, get a copy of your data. Again, it should take you right back there. That button should be blue now. If you should be able to click it, as everyone did it process, if people have that now. Someone could just unmute and tell me. So if you click on it, I'm going to open, let me find a file. Bear with me for 1 second. I can't see anybody because I have you guys all closed off here. Okay. All right, let me just pull one up and I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, here's one right here. Okay, so when you get this file, you're gonna get a few different pieces, right? This is what it looks like. So you get first name, last name, email address, company, position, date, connected. LinkedIn used to give us email addresses. They don't give those to us anymore. I just straight out delete that column because there might be one or two in there, but there's not a lot. So I delete that column, I delete this top page. Y'all can see my Excel sheet, correct? Someone say yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay. And then what I like to do is I would go and add 4 or 5 columns on the left. I didn't mean to do that. And you can title these whatever you want to title them. So I usually title them client, colleague, client, target, colleague, and I'm going to spell it wrong, something else, referral. And then you sort the whole documents by, I like to sort it by company and then position. And the thing about this is why it's really a good thing to play with and to take a pass at is people, I promise you, have fallen off your radar. Like there's people that you forgot about. There might be target companies and you didn't realize that your old friend from college works there now because you kind of forgot, you hadn't seen much of them on LinkedIn lately. Well, that's an easy person to reach out to. So when you sort your, again, you sort by company and then position, or you can go the opposite way too, just depends on what makes most sense for you. And just spend a little bit of time scrolling through and figuring out who's in here. Are there those hidden gems of people that I forgot about that I need to re-engage with, or am I missing important targets for my professional goals that I need to be doing some strategic outreach to? So does that make sense?
Could you show us again how to export that list?
Yeah, so you should have just requested it from LinkedIn, right? So you go to your settings, you go to data privacy, request a copy of your data, and then you click connections, and then it has to process. And I'll send you a link. I have directions on my in a blog on my website that walks you through how to do it. But then once it's ready, this button turns blue and you just click it and it downloads as a CSV file.
Thank you.
It's a really good exercise to go through. I would recommend doing it at least twice a year, if not quarterly. So the beauty again is that it really can help show you who you need to be connecting and engaging with, and where you need to build some strategic, do some strategic networking to get the right people in your network. So that's something that could be your homework for the weekend, just to spend a little time playing with that. All right, so we talked about our profile, we talked about our network. The next thing we want to talk about is content. So you've got your profile built out really well. You have the right people in your network. So now you got to talk about them, right? You got to talk about something. What are you talking about? So this is a big barrier for a lot of LinkedIn users. And I like to call it wearing content blinders. And what I mean by content blinders is that we have so much content at our fingertips that sometimes we can't even see it, right? Or we think, well, everyone knows this, nobody cares what I have to say about this, everyone knows this. Only you know about something from your specific point of view. Do you know how many people talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn? A lot, like a lot. But I talk about it from my perspective. This person's going to talk about it from their perspective. This person's going to talk about it from their perspective. Is there overlap? Yes. Is that okay? Yes. It's good. We all learn from each other. So think about what you love to talk about, almost come up with your content buckets, right? Things that you know really, really well, that you love to talk about and that you're passionate about. And then identify, well, what do I already have at my disposal? So that might be blog posts, videos, case studies, social media posts on other platforms. Make lists of these topics that you know well and enjoy talking about it. Think about common questions you're asked and use those to develop a content plan. So I would never, my theory, my attitude on content on LinkedIn is that consistency is the most important thing. And consistency to me means 1 post a week at a minimum. That means 4 posts, 4 things to talk about in 1 month. So if you think about, we're close to the end of October, which is crazy. How did that happen? Today is also, today's my son's 5-year bar mitzvah anniversary. I just realized what the date was. I can't believe it's like the end of October. But anyway, we have November coming up, right? So in November, what are things that happen in November, right? 1 post you could do about Thanksgiving, done. That one's easy. November is also, a month, like a lot of men do the mustache growing thing in November, like Movember. If that's a cause you're passionate about, there's something to talk about. So you can think about what's coming up and what are 4 things that you can recreate, post about, and then make a plan to post them, right? Put it in your calendar, schedule it as a to-do, as a calendar event, something that's going to get you to put that piece of content, take it out of your head and put it on LinkedIn. Questions about content. Content can be overwhelming, but it's very doable if you really think about and make a plan for it. And I love helping. I love content. Content is where you have a lot of fun and you get to meet cool people by having fun conversations.
There's another question in chat, but it goes back to what you talked about before.
That's fine.
The question reads, my skills list shows I've reached a maximum due to endorsements. How do you change that?
Well, you get 50 skills maximum, so you can't get 50 is the max. So if it's probably worthwhile to just go and assess if there's anything that is kind of irrelevant that needs to be removed, and you can replace it with something else. That's a good question. Any content questions? Do we have any content creators in the room? I know we have a few.
I'll say something.
Okay, go for it.
I was going to say, if you're really afraid about what to do, then start commenting on other people's posts. That's a good first step. Or go to LinkedIn News and use that opportunity, because I think that's the first challenge that a lot of people have is, where do I start? So let people do it for you.
That's a great point, and it rolls right into my next topic. Thank you. We didn't even plan it.
Nope.
So engagement, right? That is where you really, really build relationships. And so to Ken's point, it's a great way to also to dip your toe into the content space, because comments are content. Comments are a way to show up, because when you comment, other people who comment are going to see it, and maybe be like, who's this person? I'm going to check them out. It's a way you build relationships with people. And it's a way that you can almost test drive your content, because if you comment on a post that's in your wheelhouse and it gets kind of a good response, maybe you could take that and build that into its own standalone post. So there's a lot of good ways to, engagement is a really, really important piece. Even if you're going to start creating content, you want to make sure that you're also engaging with people, right? So you can put a piece of content out on LinkedIn, but if you put it out there and kind of just like log off and come back tomorrow, it's not going to do as well as if you put up your content, comment on a bunch of posts, and then check your post and respond to the comments that you've gotten, right? You start those conversations through the comments, whether it's on your content or somebody else's. So a good way to get started with that is there's a couple of ways. Again, I showed you, like, you can ring the bell on people's profiles. To me, again, the bell is not 100% reliable. It works for some people really, really well for me, and for others, not so much. So I do 2 things. I ring the bell for some, and I also use bookmarks. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I've been doing this for a long time, and probably about 3 years ago, I started one of another awesome LinkedIn person, Brenda Meller, used to do this thing called the Rockstar List. She put a list together of like awesome people on LinkedIn. And so a couple of years ago, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, I took that list and I checked out a lot of people on that list. I'm pretty sure that's where I first came across Ken. And I made a folder in my browser called LinkedIn People to Follow. So I literally have this bookmarked in my browser, and it's a big list of people who I wanted to make sure I was engaging and commenting with their content. And so I would go to their profile and go to their most recent activity and bookmark that in my browser so that I could go and say, let me see what Brenda shared this like recently, and it takes me right to her most recent content, and I can say, decide, should I comment on this post, or do I have something of value to add to this, or should I move on to my next person? So that's my kind of dual strategy. I do ring the bell for some people, but I use my bookmarks for people I want to make sure that they're not falling off my radar. So this is a great strategy in a couple of ways. Number one, if there's a company that you really, really are like you're targeting, they're your dream company, you find those decision makers, the people that are active on LinkedIn, and start commenting on their posts. You will be noticed for sure. That works really well with prospecting as far as looking for, when it comes to clients, if anybody has their own business, right? There's a certain company you want to be working with, or you want somebody to hire you for something. Engaging with their content, assuming that they're active, is a great way to build those relationships. For me, when I was, kind of building my business, I engaged with a lot of people that talked about LinkedIn because I wanted to get myself to a place where I was sort of seen in a similar regard to them, right? I wanted to build up my credibility as somebody who knows a lot about the platform and can help people on the platform. And so I built relationships and engaged with what I like to call them the LinkedIn smart people. It's a strategy that works really, really well. So thinking about people that are thought leaders in your industry that you want to make sure that you're connecting with, like you're engaging with them. And I promise you, if you comment on their content for a couple of weeks, when you send that connection request, they'll accept it, because anybody who's a content creator, we appreciate comments. We really, really appreciate comments. So bookmarks are a really good tool to help build those relationships. Comment on posts.
Question in chat.
Yes.
On this topic, the question is, can you demonstrate how to bookmark?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to LinkedIn. All right, so let's go. Let me find somebody who's not in my bookmarks. Okay, well, I'll use Taylor as an example. So if I wanted to, so this woman's in my networking group, if I wanted to make sure that I, added her to my bookmarks, I would go to her profile, I would scroll down to activity, click on show all activity. So when you get to this screen, you see a few different options. All activity means like everything she's done. So if she's, she liked this post, we want to go to the post tab here. And then you click whatever you use to add a bookmark. So for me, it would be the star, and it's going to ask me, where do you want to add it? And I would just choose that specific folder. Some people do spreadsheets, so they'll, hold on, let me just undo her because I'm not going to bookmark her right now. But some people will use, we'll take an Excel spreadsheet and just pop that. You could also pop that link into a spreadsheet. You just want to make sure that you're not opening multiple tabs at once, because sometimes LinkedIn can get a little testy about that, and they don't like that.
So you bookmarked from the posts tab?
Yes. Yeah, because that's where you would see people's most recent post. You could bookmark from their profile, but then you have to do a bunch of clicking to get to their most recent post, versus if you click on show all activity, and then go to posts. I'm not going to bookmark myself because I know how to find me, but that's what you would bookmark. So, figuring out, are there 5 to 10 people who would be good for me to bookmark? Start building that folder of people. And it's a good way to get into the habit also of showing up and commenting frequently, right? So comment, try to comment on 5 to 10 posts a few times a week. I mentioned this earlier, reply to comments on your content. We don't want any posting and ghosting. And then using the DMs, the direct messaging, to have conversations, to get to know people, asking questions, trying to learn about someone, take an interest in them. Just quick, like a really hard, a good rule of thumb in the direct messaging is that, yes, we don't want to sell anybody anything. We absolutely want to avoid the connecting and and pitching. And also, and this is interesting, I had this question come up when I was presenting a couple of months ago, and the woman who asked it, I know her intentions were really, really good. So she was like, I really want to get to know people in my network. And I send them my calendar link and ask them for 15 minutes for a get to know you call when I connect, and I don't get a lot of responses. And I know she was coming from a place of, like, again, wanting to get to know people that she connected with, which is a great thing. However, when we connect with somebody and immediately send them a link, like, hey, here's a blog, here's my calendar, here's this, here's that, it can be off-putting, and it can be sometimes seen as a little pushy versus just making it really simple. I really like to use the mobile app and send a voice memo, hey, so-and-so, thank you so much for connecting. I really liked your post about XYZ. Look forward to getting to know you better. Keep it really simple and light, and then you will slowly build those relationships over time to where you can ask for the meeting, you can get on a Zoom call, and you can send your calendar link to down the road. Okay, number 5, I said there were 5 things. Number 5 is you gotta have fun. If we're not having fun on LinkedIn, then we need to change our strategy, because LinkedIn is an amazing platform. It's a great place to really show up as yourself, be your full authentic self, right? Build relationships and just enjoy the process of networking, getting to know people, because those relationships pay off down the line. So with that, I have one thing. Oh, here, this is sort of the visual that I like to use, that your LinkedIn strategy is built on a strong foundation, right? We want to optimize our profile, build that great network, create content, engage, and then whatever we have at the pinnacle of our pyramid are our specific goals, right? So this is how it all comes together you see the value go up as you invest from the ground up of your profile. And I have a couple of little things for y'all. I can take questions and then I can talk about those.
If anybody has questions, either online or in the audience, now would be a good time.
Will you be sharing the deck?
Yeah, yep, I already sent it to David. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be posted on our website, so you'll have opportunity for that. And also there's a video that we're recording this session, so that'll be up there as well. That may take a little bit longer. David's away, so he's the technical guy that posts those.
I have
Question from Charlie.
Yes, I have a question about the quality and accuracy of the voice input. Voice typing. I type extremely badly, especially on a mobile. So, is voice typing a good quality, or do I have to watch what it does?
Well, it's not voice. You asking about what
Voice input. Yes. Is it typing or is it?
It's a recording. It's a
recording. Okay. Then that's fine.
Yeah, I also type very badly on my phone. I don't like to do any heavy lifting of any content on my phone.
Yes, and some voice recognition software is not to be trusted.
Yeah, no, this is not a voice to text. This is
Okay.
literally like a voice memo that you can send. So it'll be a little hard to see. I'll try to show you on my phone, but like if I wanted to send a message, here, there's like a little microphone.
Mhm.
You just hold,
Okay, I know the symbol.
you just
Mhm.
hold the microphone and talk.
That symbol is used everywhere, people. The second thing, I had a comment. When you bring your data over as a CSV, you can put it in anything that can manipulate a spreadsheet and merge it with other spreadsheets. If you're keeping track of your email contacts, you can merge. It takes a little manipulation, and yes, you do have to learn a little bit about Excel to do it, but it's a skill.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I had a client years ago that used to do a lot of trade shows. And so we would merge his connections in with the trade show list to see if anybody he was connected with was attending, so that he could send them a message to say, hey, you know, Charlie, I see you're going to this trade show, like, let's grab a coffee. So that's a good point. You can merge that into whatever other tracking you're doing based on, you know, what your goals are. So thank you.
Yeah, and keep track of the little bells that you put out there, because you may forget where you left them.
Yeah, I wouldn't ring too many because it could get overwhelming. Sometimes the notifications are a bit much, but you know, maybe you ring 15, 20 people's bells and do the bookmarks and use both of those to keep up with who you need to keep up with.
This is from the chat. Can you review how one inserts a background photo like the Atlanta skyline?
Yeah, so you would go to your profile. Hold on. Come on, work. All right, so you have this little, the pencil is always the edit button. So anytime you need to edit something, there should be a pencil in that section to edit it. So I would click the little pencil, and then it's going to basically say, it's going to walk you through how you upload it. And the size is like 15. It's pretty easy to find the size. I mean, if you just Google LinkedIn banner image size, but generally any rectangular photo works pretty well. The only thing, and I forgot to mention this earlier, is that you want to make sure that the lower 2/3 on the left is blank, is empty. It doesn't have to be blank, but like you don't want to have any wording there because it will get blocked by your profile photo. So I see this sometimes. People will have, you know, like text that goes across the whole banner image, and that text that's on the left-hand side will get blocked. And of course, because LinkedIn can't make anything easy, it looks a little different on your mobile. So the layout's a little different on your mobile, but do your best, get it positioned if you have text in there in the right place. When I did this graphic, I had to do, I think, at least 10 edits to get the text exactly where it needed to go without it being blocked. So it's a bit of a pain, but it's worthwhile and to kind of get it right.
Like Rachel was mentioning before, there's a lot of free resources out there to take a picture, and Canva is a good one to look at for that too. So, or it can be your own photo that you took, and it's just, you know, something about you that's unique, or that would be part of your brand that you can put on there.
Yeah, definitely. I think conveying your industry is a good thing too, if it makes sense.
Rachel, can you speak a little bit about the settings that you use so that every time you're doing those 5 edits, it doesn't show up in your network?
Yeah, so the only thing now that would show up in your network is something in your experience. So this is good. So now the only thing that you'll be prompted. So if I was going to add something new in my experience section and I click the little plus, you'll see it used to be that like anytime you made a change, it was like everyone knew. So see this piece here at the top, notify my network. I would say unless you are announcing a new role that you're in, keep it off. So, you know, when it's time to put out a new position, definitely put it on because you want people to come to your profile and congratulate you. But definitely the default now, I believe, is that it's set to off, but if it's green, it's on and it will send a notification if you add something here, but you want to keep it to the off. So this is the only place in your profile that will be that a notification would send out. That's a good change.
Can you briefly go over how to check the visibility of of your picture?
Yes. So again, you go to your profile, click on the photo, click on view or edit profile photo, and then this box will pop up and it'll be in that lower corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Frames would be too, like if you wanted to add, so the 3 frames, again, there are 2 frames, the hiring and the open to work, and that's where you would add that if you wanted to add it.
So it's possible that some of the people out there that you wonder why they didn't put up a picture might be someone you could connect with by telling them they forgot the setting on the picture.
Maybe, I mean,
it's an opening gambit, maybe.
yeah, but I think it's more making the assumption, and this is something that I've changed my thinking, is that I don't assume someone doesn't have a photo. I actually now assume that they have their settings incorrect.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's an opening gambit of saying, hey, I noticed that your photo doesn't appear. Is it because your choice or is it your settings?
Yeah.
And you can help somebody. And if you help somebody, you become their, a more real connection.
Best friend. Yeah. Yeah, people are very,
yes, maybe even.
They're very, like, multiple people have been like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that my photo is not visible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions?
Anybody here in the live audience have a question? It's a going once, going twice opportunity here.
How do I unshare my screen? And there's one other thing I want to show everybody as just a quick little to do. So if anybody has like in their, we have a unique LinkedIn URL. The default, again, for some whatever reason, is that LinkedIn gives you this, when you create a profile, you get your URL with some name function, but then a bunch of weird characters. So you can edit that. So it's a lot cleaner. By doing this, you would go to your profile and click this edit public profile and URL button on the right. So I'll just go back to the first screen to show you where that is. So again, you click here where it says edit public profile and URL, and it will take you to this page, which is sort of like what your public profile settings are. And on the right-hand side of that screen is a little pencil. Again, we always use the pencil to edit, where you can, if you've got a bunch of extraneous characters here, you can delete those characters. If you have a name that's kind of common, you may need to put some sort of descript, a middle initial or a hyphen or something, because someone else probably has the custom URL, but it's just a lot cleaner versus having all those extra characters that don't really do anything for you. So that's another little to do. Well, I have 2 things I'm going to pop into the chat for you all. One is I have a fun little assessment that I put together that can kind of give you an idea of, how your strategy is going. It's a little scorecard. So I'm going to put that link in the chat for everybody. And then, I do a lot. I have several LinkedIn, services that I offer, but my basic service is a profile audit. where I help you really see where the opportunities are to make adjustments to your profile. So I'm just going to give you those links if you want to check them out. I'm happy to chat with y'all, and I hope y'all will connect with me. Please do. Please just, if you send me a connection request, just pop in the message PSG, so I know where you came from. And with that, if there's no more questions, I'm going to turn it back over to our great host.
Oh wait, Bill's got his hand up.
Well, this is not really a question, but it's more for the links that Rachel just put into chat. At the top of the chat button in GoToMeeting, there are 3 dots there too, and in there is an opportunity. If you click on those 3 dots, and you'll have the opportunity to download the chat. We also post the chat on the PSG website if you need those links later on.
Yeah, so you can get it either way, either right now, or you can wait until we post the video. And part of the posting of the video is also the chat log is posted as well. All right, well, thank you so much, Rachel. This presentation was just phenomenal. It was chock full of so much LinkedIn information, and I know people can feel overwhelmed by it. So a couple of the takeaways that I got from it, and this is by no means all conclusive because there were so many nuggets and pieces of information, but just the importance of using LinkedIn, that there are 875 million users now, and even with 2 to 3% being active, it's still a huge number. Like Rachel had demonstrated a couple of times, setting your profile to public so that you're out there. I mean, LinkedIn is a social media site, so you want to be found. That's the whole idea of social networking. And customizing the banner, I think that does add individuality to what your brand is. It's important, and it also, you know, shows you're more technologically savvy. If you just have that defaulted thing, it doesn't look that great, and people can get the impression that maybe you're not that technologically savvy. Same thing with your LinkedIn address too, with all that extra gobbledygook at the end. It's a good thing to show, you know, that you have more of a command of LinkedIn by updating that as well too. And I think a lot of people don't know about that 30-second video intro too that Rachel had mentioned. So that's a nice thing to play around with also. Again, you know, you're trying to differentiate yourself from other competitors when you're going for a job. So if you can do something that's a little bit different, a little bit unique, and tell something about you, you know, so somebody can inevitably, when people are looking to decide whether they're going to interview you or not, they're going to go to LinkedIn. I mean, that's one of the real go-to things that people do these days. I know whenever I'm talking to anybody, I'll look them up on LinkedIn. So if you can differentiate yourself there with a video that, you know, shows a little bit about your personality, I think that's really can be a real beneficial thing as well too. So again, Rachel, thanks so much for being such a supporter of the PSG of Mercer, and we really appreciate your coming and sharing all those nuggets of information. Just wanted to mention some of the upcoming meetings that are going to be happening. Next week, same bat time, same bat channel here, we're going to have Tamara Cosley Robinson is coming, and she's going to be in person. So if you're able to come in person, that'll be an opportunity to meet her as well as to network here. And her topic is going to be managing one's energy. Tamara is a very high energy type of person, so I would recommend coming, and I'm sure she's going to have a great presentation. And then 2 weeks from today, November 11th, our very own Gary Landy, who's a member of the executive board at PSG, he's going to be talking about developing your master resume. So that's a topic that's very important, very timely to have. Customizing your resume, but you can have kind of a master one. So depending on the job, you customize it for each one of the jobs that you're going for, but you can start with a master resume that includes all the information and detail of things that you've done at at all your jobs in the past if they're still pertinent. So I think that'll be a great topic as well. There's a few other groups that I wanted to mention also. The Breakfast Club of New Jersey, it's thebreakfastclubnj.com. They meet monthly on Saturday mornings. Their next meeting is coming up on November 12th at 8 p.m. sharp. So if you're an early bird, they do all their meetings virtual, but the topic for November's talk, Bill LaChance is going to be coming in to do the virtual talk. And he's talking about money saving strategies during a career transition. So that's something that's important. He'll talk about healthcare. He'll talk about your finances and things like that. So, when we're in transition, those are topics that are really important and timely. So I would recommend, if you have the opportunity to attend that meeting. He also comes here annually to give us an update because the tax laws seem to be constantly changing. So it's a good opportunity to find out what's new for this year. And then we have two sister groups, PSG groups. There's PSG of Central Jersey, that's psgnj.biz. They meet on Mondays at 10:30. So also have a variety of topics and presenters. And then PSG of Morris County, that's psgmc.org. They meet Wednesday mornings at 9:30. So a lot of opportunity to learn and to interact and interface with people in job search. So I would encourage you to partake either in our group or some of the other groups that are available as well. So again, thanks so much, Rachel, for such a great presentation. We'll keep this session open for a little while so people online can network with each other and the people in the room as well too. But
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Feel free, please, if you have any other questions that come up, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Obviously the best place to find me, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So I appreciate the invitation to join. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thanks, everybody. So I'm going to say goodbye.